Now, virtually all of us had our first interaction with all these AI chatbots that we see today, all these AI models rather that we see today through a chatbot. That was the first interaction that a lot of us had with these LLMs. But what if I told you that these LLMs actually can't remember anything you tell them? Yeah, they can't remember. Or should I say by default, they are not built to remember. They are stateless by default. LLMs are stateless by default. If you tell an LLM, let's say my name is Fikayo, it will greet you and say, oh yeah, welcome Fikayo, what can I do for you today? And then immediately you ask it, what is my name? It's not going to remember you. Yeah, it's not going to remember you. Forget anything that you've been experiencing in Gemini, in ChatGPT, or Claude. It does not remember you. A memory system is actually built behind it, that it's making it have a multi-turn conversation with you. LLMs by default are not built to hold state. Now let's test that out. Let's go back to our previous example. Here, let us have a chat with this model. Or let's try to have a chat with this model. We'll say, hello, my name is Fikayo, and I am an AI engineer. Hello, my name is Fikayo, and I'm an AI engineer. Let's send it to the model. And you see it responds back. It says, hi Fikayo, nice to meet you. What are you working on right now? LLMs, CV, MLOps, recommender systems, or something else. So it calls me by my name and greets me. Now let us ask the same LLM that we just told our name and our occupation. What is my name? At least we just told it our name. Or at least I just told it my name. So it should be able to answer me. And unsurprisingly, it says, I don't know your name from this chat. If you tell me what you like to be called, I'll use it. So you see, LLMs don't have memory. LLMs by default don't have memory. But in this video, in this lesson, we're going to see how the Laravel AI SDK allows us to build a chatbot by creating an agent that is conversational. Yeah, that's where that conversational contract comes from. We build a conversational agent, and the Laravel AI SDK is going to use that setup along with those migrations it did for those two tables. You remember agent conversations and agent messages? Yeah, it's going to be using all that to build a memory system behind our agent so that our agent can remember us. How cool is that? Now, by the way, these lecture notes, you can find them in a lecture notes folder in the project repo for this course, so you can get all of them for reference. If we scroll down, we have some prerequisites before we get started. First, we have to make sure that you've completed the chapter 1 setup, the migrations for the user, the migrations for the AI tables. Make sure that you have set them up. Also, the Sanctum token, because we're going to attach that conversation. We're going to be attaching our conversations to the logged in user. So that's very, very important. So that's why we did all that setup in the beginning. Also, yeah, AI SDK migrations from the beginning, the agent conversations table. This table actually stores the conversation metadata, the ID, the user, the agent class. So if you're having a particular conversation, this is going to store that particular conversation. It says this is the conversation, this is the ID of the conversation, this is the agent class we're having the conversation with, and this is the user that is having the conversation. Now, the agent conversation messages, it stores the individual messages. And it attaches them to the conversation ID on this table. It attaches them to the conversation ID of this table, which is this conversation ID. We're going to be talking more about this conversation ID very, very soon. But for now, let us get started building our chatbot. First, we'll need to create a new agent. So let me just pull up my command line once again. Let's clear this. And let's say we want to create an agent that can help us out with this course, like a course assistant agent. We will need that agent to remember what we told it so that it can have a conversation with us. So to do that, I'm going to say PHP artisan make agent, and the name of the agent is going to be course assistant. That's the name of the agent that we're going to be creating. The agent that is going to be able to remember conversations. So hit enter, and our agent has been successfully created. Awesome. Good. Let's close this. Let me close this. Save. I think I can close this too. Yeah, if we need to pull it up again, we'll pull it up. Now let us open the agent that we just created as our course assistant agent. Awesome, good. Now the easiest way for you to implement a conversational agent is to have it use the remembers conversations trait. Yeah, have it use the remembers conversations trait. This is going to take care of everything for you. You can go the manual way where you set up the entire memory system, how you want it to return messages and all that, but that is only important when you want some high level customizations. For a straightforward chatbot, simply import the remembers conversations trait. So we'll say use Laravel AI concerns, and we pick remembers conversations. Good. Then we make this agent use this trait. So just after prompt-able, we also add remembers conversations, and this trait is going to handle everything. You don't even need to have this messages block. So we'll take it out, and it's even very, very important that we take out this messages block, because if we don't take out this messages block, it will always return an empty history. You see, this returns empty. When you're doing a manual setup, this is where you define how you want to return your history. So if you leave this function in, it will always return an empty history. So very important, if you're using remembers conversations, take out this function. Take it out. That's good. Else the agent is not going to remember anything, because an empty conversation history is going to be returned continuously. Now the next thing we're going to do, let us give proper instructions to this agent. You are a helpful assistant, does not do much. By the way, you can also take out as tools. This does not have tools. So you can just take this out. We're going to be working with tools later. But you have to leave conversational in, because we're creating a conversational agent. So you can't take that out. So we get this in place. And then, like I said, we need to write better instructions. So I'm going to say, you are a helpful teaching assistant for a Laravel AI SDK, Laravel AI SDK course. Then let's concatenate on the new line. You remember everything. Sorry, I need to put quotes here. So remember everything discussed. Remember everything discussed in the current conversation. When the user references something said earlier, acknowledge it and build upon it. Don't worry, in later demos, I won't have you watching me type this entire thing. This is the first one, so let us do it together. But the next ones, I'm just going to be bringing them in. You can find them in the project repo. So I'm just going to be pasting it in and just going through it, instead of you watching me gruesomely type it. So keep responses concise. Want 2 to 3 sentences maximum. Yeah. So this is a proper prompt. This is a proper system instruction. Your helpful assistant is too vague. So we have that in place. And that's it. That's it for this agent. Remembers conversations is going to take care of everything that has to do with managing the message history and making sure that the agent always has the required context for it to respond to you coherently. So that's good. Now to run this conversational agent, I'm going to be creating a new controller. Let us keep things well spread out. So I'm going to come here and we're going to say PHP artisan make controller. And we're going to create this controller inside API chapter 2 conversational agent controller. Conversational agent controller. So let's create that. Cool. Done. And we can find it here in chapter 2 conversational agent controller. Let's open that up. So here in this controller, first we need to import a couple of things. We need to bring in our agent. That will be AI, app. AI, and we can pick our course assistant here. Then let us bring in JSON response. So that's good. We bring those in. Then we're going to create a start conversation method. Now we're going to be creating two methods. We're going to create a start conversation method. And what that method is going to do is that it's going to initiate the conversation. It's going to initiate the conversation because for every conversation, there needs to be a conversation ID. So it's going to initiate the first conversation. And then we'll then create another method that we'll just call continue conversation. We'll call that method continue conversation. So that's the method we'll keep calling to continue the conversation. The first method is going to initiate the conversation. The second method is going to help us continue the conversation. So let's create the first one. We'll say public function start conversation. It will take in a request object because we need to pass in our very first message that kickstarts the conversation. This will return JSON response. Then in here, first we need to validate what is coming in, which we'll call message. Message is required to be a string, and it should just be 1,000 characters max. But use any limit that you want. You can also make it limitless. You can have the user throw in as much message as possible. But remember, input tokens are also part of your entire cost. Input tokens are also part of your entire cost. So if you allow the user dump as much input as possible, then you're going to be paying for all those tokens. And users, you can't control what the users do. They can drop an entire novel in there. So you would want to make sure that you're checking that. So we have this in place. Let's get our authenticated user because we're going to need this user for this particular request. So I'm going to say request user. It's good. And then let us get the message that is coming in. I'll be request input message. Get the message that is coming in. So we have the user and the message because we need the user. Like I said, this conversation is going to be tied to this user, so we need the logged in user. So once we get those two, we'll then call our LLM through our agent. So we'll create a new instance of our agent. Our agent is course assistant. Course assistant. So we'll say course assistant. Then we call a method called for user. For user. We call the for user method. This is where we pass in the user so that it ties this particular request to this user so that it knows this is a conversation and I need to return a conversation ID because it looks like this user wants to have a conversation with the LLM. Then after that, we can then prompt. As we do. So it's a prompt. And inside prompt, we can pass in message. This is where we pass in message. So that's good. I have this in place. Remember, for user, that's how you tie it. That's how you tie the conversation to your logged in user. So what for user is going to do is that it's going to create a new conversation record in the agent conversations table. It's going to create that. Then it will associate it with the authenticated user and it will return a conversation ID for you to continuously prompt the LLM to have a coherent conversation. So we have this in place. Now let us return our response. Let's say return response JSON. And here first say demo. And the demo will be start new conversation. We're using remembers conversation. Let me just copy it from there. We're using remembers conversation for this. Oh, it's from here actually. So yeah, let's go down. We're using remembers conversation. Then we'll get our conversation ID. So response. Then we'll get the conversation ID. Get the conversation ID. Then user message. Then we'll pass the message back. Then assistant response. That will be the response that the agent sends back. Assistant response. We'll get a string response. Then int. This will be a message that will just send back to whoever is using this API and say, yeah, save the conversation ID, please, because you're going to need it. This is not necessary, but just for educational purposes, so that you don't forget stuff. So yeah, save the conversation ID for subsequent conversations. So we have this in place. Let us put a semicolon here to get rid of the 0. So we have this in place, and this is the method that will help us start a conversation. This will help us start a conversation. So that's good. The next method we're going to create, like I said, is a method that is going to help us continue the conversation. So as we keep conversing with the LLM, this is the method that we'll keep calling. So we say public function continue conversation. Continue conversation. We'll pass in a request object. And say JSON response. We return a JSON response. And inside here, we're going to validate our input. So request validate. Then the first thing we want to validate is our conversation ID. We want to validate our conversation ID. Check that it is being sent. For now, we're not going to do anything complicated. We're just going to check that the user is sending it. So we say required string. But you can also check in your database. You can also check in your database agent conversations to check that, oh yeah, this conversation ID actually exists. Then we want to check the message that the subsequent message that the user is passing. It's required string, and we keep our messages to 1,000 characters. So I have all this in place, looking good. Let's get our user also. Get our user, request user. Let's also get our message. Get our message, and that will be from request input message. Let's also get our conversation ID. Just going to copy this. Get the conversation ID, then we can send our response back. So response equals new, and we're still going to be calling our course assistant because it's our conversational agent. So we say course assistant. And this time, instead of calling for user, we call a continue method. We call a continue method. Continue. And this continue method is going to take two arguments. The first argument is going to be our conversation ID. So it needs to know the conversation ID so that it knows the conversation to continue, so that it doesn't just go and pick up another person's conversation. And then we pass an as argument that is set to user, as user. So that it's still for this user, this particular conversation for this particular user. Then we can prompt. With our new message. So we'll just go here and prompt with our new message. That's good. Now, what happens under the hood? I haven't called this. The SDK is going to load all the previous messages from the database. It is then going to include them as context with the new prompt. That's the new message that is coming in. It's going to include them as context. Then it's also going to store the new assistant message that comes back when the agent returns. It's going to store that too, so that it continues to update the conversation history. So we get this, then we can return. I will say response JSON. And inside here, let's mark our demo. Like I said, we always mark our demo. Continue conversation. Continue conversation. I'm still going to attach this remembers conversation so that we continue to document our API. So yeah, remembers conversations. Then we pass our conversation ID so that we know the current conversation that we are on. Conversation ID is going to be set to response. We can actually get it from our response too. Go to the response conversation ID. Then once again, we send the user message. Which is going to be the message that was sent in our request. Then we also pass the assistant response, which is the new response we're getting back from continuing the conversation. It's a string response. String response. And we close this. I think we also need to do that for this. Okay, so that's good. We're done with this method. And now we can add our routes. So we're just going to go to API. We're still in chapter 2. So inside the chapter 2 group, the first thing we're going to do is bring in our conversation controller. So I'm just going to copy this. And this is going to be conversational controller. So we'll bring that in. Conversational agent controller. Conversational agent controller. Then we can go into our chapter 2 and create our routes, which I'm just going to be copying some of these guys. Now this time I need to put the middleware in chapter 2. I need to put the sanctum middleware in chapter 2. So auth sanctum. Yeah, we need to put it here so that our users' information can be collected and it can be used in our request. So the first endpoint I'm going to be creating will be called conversations/start. Conversations/start is going to use the conversational agent controller and is going to call the start conversation method. No, not here. Start conversation. Yeah, it's going to call it here. Then I'm going to create another route. And this is going to be conversations/continue. This is going to be using the continue conversation method. Perfect. So we have everything coded out. It is now time to run our test. So I'm just going to copy this endpoint. And here in Postman, the first thing, make sure that your authorization is set to bearer token and you have put the appropriate token here. Put this down a little. Then make sure that you are still in chapter 2. And we'll go to conversations/start. Conversations/start. We'll go to the body. What is required to start a conversation? We need just the message. We need just the first message. Good. We need just the first message. So we'll go to Postman and I'm going to say message. And my message is going to be, hi, my name is Fikayo and I will like to learn. Let's just leave it there. I would like to learn. Hi, my name is Fikayo. Let me add my profession. I am an AI engineer and I would like to learn. So my name is Fikayo. I am an AI engineer and I would like to learn. So let us run this. Make sure that you're hitting the right endpoint. Chapter 2/conversations/start. So the request is going and very soon we should have our response. Our response comes back. We pull it up. You see start new conversation. We have the conversation ID. So yeah, get that guy. So get it. And here it says, hi, my name is Fikayo. Okay, this is my user message. Hi, my name is Fikayo. I am an AI engineer and I would like to learn. And the assistant tells me, hi, Fikayo, welcome. Weirdly got it this way. what exactly do you want to learn? Laravel basics, the Laravel AI SDK specifically, agents, tools, RAG, function calling, or building an end-to-end AI app in Laravel. As you can see, it is only telling me about Laravel topics. I just said I want to learn. I didn't say I want to learn Laravel, but it's telling me about Laravel topics because from the system instructions, we had already told it that it teaches Laravel. It teaches Laravel. So it just works within that scope. So yeah. And like I said, remember to save the conversation ID. Very, very important. So what I'm just going to do is that for the next prompt, which we're going to be doing now, I'm just going to come here and say conversation underscore ID. And just put that here just to be safe. So now we've initiated the conversation. And if you go to pgadmin, or if you go into your database, wherever you are using to view it, if we go into agent conversations and we query it, you can see that we now have a conversation lodged. We have it lodged. It even titled it, Fikayo Ready to Learn. It titled it. So that's the conversation, and it's the kind of thing you see at the side menu of your chatbot. You see it just gives it a generated name for that conversation. The user ID is 1, and the ID for this conversation is this guy. So we have this. Then if you go into messages, you would also see our very first message. Oh, sorry, I seem to be in a different table. This is not the this is the database that's this is the database that we're using for the current course. I mean, I was in the previous one. So yeah, we go to the table and do agent messages. Yeah, you see we have these two messages. The first one I sent, which is my name is Fikayo and I'm an AI engineer. I would like to learn. Then the response he gave me. This is the response he gave me, and it's storing it against the conversation ID. The conversation ID for this conversation that it has registered inside this agent conversations table, which is our conversation ID. By the way, if you forget your conversation ID, you can go into your table and pick it up. So we see them saved. Now let us see if we can query it to continue our conversation. Remember, first we are hitting the continue endpoint now, not start. So remember to change this to continue. So we'll continue conversation, and let us ask it, what is my name? What is my name? Yeah, what is my name? As it enter, and you see this time it says your name is Fikayo. Your name is Fikayo. It got it right. Your name is Fikayo. Unlike the previous example that we did, and it says I don't know your name. If you give me a name, I will call you with that name. So my name is your name is Fikayo. Let us ask it, what do I do, or what is my profession? What is my profession? Still maintaining the conversation ID. See, it tells us you are an AI engineer. You said you are an AI engineer. If I remove let's say I remove the conversation ID, or let's just say we mess up the conversation ID. Let's see what happens. You see, it tells us I don't have that information in this conversation to know your profession. Yeah. That's how it works. That's how conversational agents work. Because we gave it a memory system through the Laravel AI SDK, we can have a conversation with it. But anytime we mess up the conversation ID or we don't give a conversation ID, it's going to default back to being a simple, plain LLM without memory.